Well, this was really a breakthrough for all of us who have been working for democracy and human rights for the last 40 years to get rid of all of these autocratic rulers, starting with Tunisia, moving quickly to Egypt, and now that challenges Syria and Yemen, and Libya. And hopefully all these countries will also witness the good change to a more open society, a more democratic society. And with these 4 or 5 countries, they will create a critical mass that will move the region into democracy. And as you know, our region was the last to join the so-called third wave of democracy, which began back in 1974 in Portugal. So I'm delighted that at least a long or a lifelong struggle seemed to be bringing fruits. Democracy and freedom is as universal as life itself. Mm-hmm. So it could not or should not be either credited or confined to any one culture or to any one civilization. Some cultures, they may start a little earlier than others, but sooner or later it catches up. This is a yearning in the hearts of men, women, and it has been confirmed over and again. And a few years ago, there was a proposition by some Western writers that somehow there is some kind of an exceptionalism with the Muslims or with the Arabs. But, after we have seen in Indonesia, the 3rd largest country in the world, moving to democracy some 20 years ago, the first part of that proposition that Muslims are not suited for democracy had been refuted. And then the second part of the proposition that the Arabs somehow are not suited for freedom and democracy has been soundly refuted as well by the event in Tunisia, in Egypt, and now in Yemen, Syria, and elsewhere. Absolutely, because we as Muslim Democrats, just like Christian Democrats, some 70 or 80 years ago, following the Second World War, have realized that all religions, in fact, emphasize human dignity and human right as birthrights. And this is the grounding for the democratic governance that, using, of course, more recent language, not the language of religion, but the language of revolutions from the 18th century on. So the great thing that happened earlier in the last century is reconciling these universal principles of freedom and democracy and human dignity with divine text. And I think that has been done earlier with Christian Democrats. Now it is being done with the Muslim and Muslim Democrats. I have faith in young people everywhere, and Arab youth is no exception. And I am confident that Arab youth will live up to the challenge. And as they triggered the recent events of earlier this year, from Tunisia to Egypt to Bahrain, Yemen, Jordan, Algeria, elsewhere, I think that generation, it is the Twitter generation, the Google generation. It is globally conscious, globally connected, and we had seen that also 2.5 years ago in Iran, across the Gulf from the rest of the Arab world. And when the mullahs shut down the internet, it was Egyptian bloggers who put their blogs at the disposal of anonymous Iranian colleagues, people that they did not know. But it was, again, another glorious example of spontaneous, useful solidarity of freedom fighters.